Welcome everyone back once again here. We're trying to make a little advice video for you when it comes to the characters that we get through summoning. There's this feature that you have that when you get a character, when you summon a character through the summons feature in this game, that you may get individual values for these characters, which may vary, of course. You have all of these stats on your characters. Like in this case, I'm going to show you Hector here. Like, of course, he has hit points, attack, speed, defense, resistance, and that's it. But of course, one of these values may have what is called a boon, and the boon, of course, is that stat that's going to be a bit more per se increased from its neutral value. And of course, if you have a boon, if you happen to have a boon in your characters, there's always going to be a bane too. And a bane, it's the contrary to it. From its neutral value, you're going to have a decrease in the value of that character stat. So, for example, here we have a plus defense Hector, minus attack. He would have 55 attack if he would have been plus attack, 52 if he was neutral attack, and of course 49 now that he has a bane in his attack. And his neutral defense is 37, if I'm not mistaken, 34 for bane, and of course 40 for plus defense. In the case of this Hector, you may not say that of course his nature is the best, but it's actually not among the worst. It's still very workable. At least he was not something like minus attack plus speed, which still may sound bad, but still is not that bad actually. But in the end, it's one of those natures that could not be very good at all. Actually, I think the worst will be plus speed, minus speed plus resistance, or minus attack plus resistance. That will be actually the worst idea you can get for him. But you know, Hector is still Hector, so he's still workable. But just as an example, of course, here, to work around his decreased attack potential, you need to work around his defense, which is the attack that, the boon that he has in his stats. If he has high resistance, you can work around with his resistance, or of course the defense too. Those are two stats that matter a lot in this game because there are these special triggers that you can of course use to make a little damage, a bit more, in case you're using those values to attack. So in this case, Hector is using an 80% boost to his defense. The 80% boost that comes from, of course, the defense that makes the little extra damage that's going to be dealt because of his attack bane is going to come from here. So he's compensating his attack bane with this, of course, defense boon. It's definitely helping because he's getting extra points of attack when he triggers his special power, in this case Ignis, which is going to boost the attack dealt by 80% of his defense. So you're basically using the boon that he has to your own advantage and patching up his own weakness, which in this case it's his attack. So yeah, that's one way that you can work around that. We have a little example. Another example here. It's Gray. Sorry, I was going to say Riz. I don't know why. Gray, and my Gray here. He's an interesting case too. Very pretty similar to Hector, but still one of those many situations that you may get when you're trying to summon for a character that has that potential to be a speedy, but yet you get a minus speed nature, and that really hurts in the end. In this case, I gave him to patch up his issue with the minus speed, the skill triangle adept, and Stormbreaker 2. And he actually has here a threaten defense, which also is part of his kit. Let me just go here, of course, and equip it so you can of course see the full set of skills that he has. As you can see here, I have some other inherited stuff that I gave to him. So okay, let me just here's the ability that he comes with, Wind Boost 3, which helps him as long as he has more HP than the other unit that it's attacking him. In my opinion, that doesn't work well at all, especially if you're using Fury. But in this case, of course, how would you use Fury if you're using an A slot and Fury goes in the A slot? But yeah, because this skill is dependent on the damage that you receive, it's going only to trigger on how much your HP you have. So if there's other units that have more HP than you, that's gonna be, of course, a skill that is gonna be wasted, and you're gonna be able to prop that up. So let me just put here the threaten defense. Okay, so basically Gray here has a boon in his defense and he has a bane in his attack. So being a red unit, you're always going to have a good advantage against the greens, and since your speed is not that great, by using Triangle Adept, you're reducing the damage that you get from those green units even more, even though some of them may be able to double you in the case of physical units, and also of course the green units too, the green mages. So in this case, he patches that up with the Triangle Adept skill by reducing even further the damage that he receives from both mages and ATS units, such as cavalry units, which especially, of course, are not going to be having a very fun time with him because his weapons and battle, it's effective against cavalry units. So it's not very good. It's not going to be a very good choice to approach him. Also, to patch up his issue with his speed, he has a pretty decent attack because his Bane is not there. Swordbreaker 2 is also going to work very well for him, because there's going to be this 40 speed Ryoma with Fury and maybe Lucina, other characters which are very fast. I think as also Athena is pretty fast too. Those are the ones I remember right now, but yeah, those are the most popular ones that you may happen to find. But in the end, Swordbreaker is going to help you to block those attacks from getting to you. You're going to only to get hit once. Because you have a very high HP, more than likely you're going to survive that attack, and then you're going to hit them back twice. More than likely, of course, finishing them off in just in one match. And of course, if they attack you in their face, you're going to be able to finish them up in the next phase, in the next turn, of course, and during that match. So as you can see here, this set helps him a lot with his speed issue, even though you may say that he has a pretty bad set of boons and banes here, which of course it's not really that bad, but still it's kind of bad, because always having a character that is supposed to be speedy, having a bane in his speed, it's a detriment to his stats overall. But as you can see here, this patches up his issues pretty well. If you have Swordbreaker 3, that will be excellent, but in this case, of course, it's not too easy to get that. So even if you use Swordbreaker 2, that should make the job. Of course, as long as you're the first one, it's the first one that attack. It's the first attack that you receive from a sword unit. And also, you can bring someone who can heal you, like someone who has renewal and reciprocal aid, so that way you can restore your health back in case you of course find yourself lacking the 70% health that is needed for you to prop this skill. Those are some pretty good representations of what you can do. Also have here other unit which also represents that pretty well. She doesn't have a Bane in speed, but still she doesn't have any boost to her attack or speed. So because she has a resistance boon and a defense bane, which is kind of the best one that you can get for her, because she doesn't really have any great defense. So anyway, she's gonna get knocked out by just getting hit, even if she had a boon in defense. Very rare cases she may survive, but of course, more than likely she's gonna die even to some high attack red units. So by using this resistance to your advantage to patch up her lack in a boon in attack, you can use Glacies because it uses basically that boon and resistance that you have to your own favor, boosting your damage by 80% of the resistance that you have here. So same case as before, I just left her with her default A skill, which is pretty good, Death Blow. She has Lance Breaker, because most of the time you're going to have not too many issues knocking out red units with her, especially if you have a Dancer. So with Lance Breaker too, we assure that most of the blue units that have an average resistance are going to fall to us. As long as they don't have a 30 plus resistance, most of the time you're gonna knock them out with her, especially if she's the one initiating attack, hitting them with a 56 attack twice. I mean, that there's not too many units out there that can stand that. So Lance Breaker 2 works in her favor, just like Death Blow does. Other case that you may also find pretty interesting. Now for another type of unit, it's here Hawkeye. Like, of course, in his situation, some characters need to look very close to their stats, because sometimes they may have this stat spread that does not benefit at all the speed. So it's not always good to look for a speed boon on a character, especially if their speed is already abysmal. You should look for something like, you know, a bit more of attack, of course, or HP if that character has a pretty good hit point stat. And that way you can use some pretty good abilities to patch him up and make him a great unit. In this case, he has a pretty good, actually pretty above average resistance, a nice defense, not that great of course, still it's average, but still it's nice. And his attack, well, not great, it's still on a level that he can do something. So here with the killer axe, he gets advantage of his resistance by using Iceberg. Using 50% of that Iceberg, he's gonna proc 15 points of extra damage every time that he activates his skill. You can also use here, to make him even better, in my opinion, an Emerald Axe Plus. That's gonna help him a lot, because Hawkeye with this speed is not gonna get any hits that he's gonna survive against a red unit, unless that unit has very poor attack. But we're talking about competitive sets here that you're gonna have, of course, have the chance to battle in the arena. And the arena is almost impossible, especially in those upper arena levels like First Dragons or Norian Noble or Hashira Noble levels 18, 19, and 20th tier. Some units with low attack, and so you're always going to find these units with crazy stats, and of course because they're merged, so it's gonna be a plus 10 unit sometimes, a 4-star plus 10 unit, plus 3 5-star unit, and of course this speed is gonna get him destroyed against red units. So yeah, actually you're not gonna worry about him going up against a red unit, because anytime that he does, even if it's a mage, of course, taking into account his resistance, he's not going to survive. So if you replace the Killer Axe Plus from an Emerald for an Emerald Odds Plus, he's gonna have a very good time in the battlefield going against blue units and even some, of course, green mages, and some green units too may find, of course, their end at his attack, because he has Death Blow, which of course if he attacks first he's gonna get a 50 attack, especially if he goes against Adz units. With Adz Breaker he's only going to get hit once as long as his HP is above 50%, and he's gonna hit them twice in exchange for that hit. So it's always great to have to know that, because in this case, as you can see, Hawkeye, he has in his Speed Bane and an HP boon, so that way he's actually working great. What may seem like, of course, a very bad set of individual values, in the case of Hawkeye, it works to his favor greatly. That's because of his stats. Other case that I have here, which it's pretty good too, very similar also, it's Summer Tiki. She has a Speed Bane and a Defense boon, which synchronizes perfectly with her skill here, Close Defense 3. She gets Defense and Resistance +6 if, of course, if attacked by a unit using Sword, Axe, Lance, or Dragonstone. And just like with Hawkeye, she's patched up for everything with the Adz Breaker, because with this monstrous attack here, she's gonna hit twice any Adz character that comes to her. So that's great. She doesn't have that really great resistance though, but her purpose is to tank any blue and of course green units, physical units for that matter. And even though she has here a very low speed, she can do pretty well because of her set of skills here, especially Adz Breaker and Close Defense, patching up any issues with attacking people, because her defense boon is taking her to a whole new level when it comes to dealing damage. Same with Hector, as I mentioned before, using his 40 defense at his favor. She also has Ignis to boost her damage dealt by the 80% of her defense. So as you can see, this is another pretty good example that you can use characters to their advantage, the same characteristics that they have surrounding them. Let me see if I have another good case here to show you. Most of the cases that I have here are actually pretty similar. Actually, I don't have other many cases. Well, actually, Summer Robin, my Summer Robin, may work better with other set of skills here, but also, as I mentioned before, Lance Breaker on her is great because she has a monstrous attack of 52, which of course makes her great. And of course she has a boon in attack and a bane in speed. You may look at her speed and say, well, that's not very bad speed, but still, that's because of Fury here. She would go down to 31 if I get Fury off of her. So Lance Breaker is pretty great on her, and she's gonna be able to make some major damage to red units, especially of course those red mages and some not too hot in defense red sword units. So with her attack, she can really get advantage of another set that you may work on her, especially if you get a minus speed plus attack, a nature or IB, sorry. You can run on her at the Death Blow combo with Brave Lance Plus, or even Brave Lance if you don't have available the Brave Lance Plus. But still, you can work around many ways, like characters that have bad speed and a pretty good attack are always very good candidates for those brave weapons. Like in the case of Churchy, as most of the people know. The case of Robin, like of course she has a pretty good attack, so she can use that to her favor, and that way with Death Blow and using some boost from her allies, she can get some great damage done to other units. In the case also of, let's say, actually Reinhardt and Ike here have some pretty good unit boons in their stats, and that way it's gonna be great for them to inherit some meta skills. But in the case of Ike, my Ike here is plus attack minus defense, and that works perfectly with Heavy Blade. I know that minus defense is not that good to have, but still, his defense is still decent to the point where he can take some attacks from red units and attack them right back. He has quick riposte too. I know Swordbreaker 3 may work a bit better on him, because with that monstrous attack, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to knock them out, all of them. But he has quick riposte too for those green mages, because he doesn't have a Bane in resistance. He's gonna be able to attack back at the green mage, and because of his huge attack, he's gonna be able more than likely to destroy them in one attack. And also, I prefer to run Luna over Ether, because Heavy Blade, it's very triggers very fast, that skill. It's like a 1 to 2 hit cooldown, and then you proc Luna and basically destroy the other unit. Luna is a great skill on Ike, especially because none of his defense, not even his defense or resistance are that great. If he had a 35 defense, may consider more to run Bonfire. But of course, in this case, we're talking about a Bane in his defense and a Boon in his attack, so Luna works perfectly on him. And in the case of, well, also like Tobin here, as you can see, his defense and resistance, while not looking great, I mean, you can still work around that. Those are not too bad. They're at least both average. And his speed, while not looking too great, as you can see, he's a pretty good candidate for using that Swordbreaker skill, if you really want to use him, of course. If you're a free-to-play player and you're not planning on spending too many orbs to get a Ryoma, or of course all of those pretty hard to get sword characters, there's always a great choice to give out of Sully and some other characters which have Swordbreaker, of course, to Tobin, so that way he can get some stuff done. But his speed, of course, is not going to help him in the long run. So, same case here. Also, this Tiki is in the products to be built, but she's a minus attack plus defense Tiki, which is going to make her perfect against green units. So she can also run the Swordbreaker skill plus Triangle Adept, and that will be great for her, because even though she has minus attack plus defense, her defense is to a great level that Bonfire, it's going to make a lot of damage. 17 damage back is nothing to sneeze at on your special triggers. And of course, if you give her Triangle Adapt plus Swordbreaker, more than likely you're gonna be able to knock out many units, especially units that have a lacking resistance. Because she's a dragon, she has her attack is not based on physical, but it's actually based on resistance. So all of these physical units which have a lot of bulk in their defense and very poor resistance, not even reaching the 23s, 24s, they're gonna have a very hard time going up against Sticky, because she's actually ready to receive hits from them with her very great defense. And she's gonna proc Bonfire, which of course is gonna be attacking back based on that too. So, to be honest, I think I made my point clear. You need to look around, see if your characters have a very good set of skills to have based on their individual values. In this case, I talk about mini characters which have, in this case, banes in their speed and boons either in their attack or in their defense. So the defense can be used to attack back with more damage with skills such as bonfire. The resistance also can be used with skills such as glacis or iceberg, and of course ignis. Those are great, and of course they may take a bit more of time to cool down, but you're going to put those skills on characters that you put in the arena. You're going to try to put at least, at most actually, cooldowns of 3 in their characters. So you're going to be looking for those draconic auras, for those bonfire, or for those ignis, sorry, iceberg, or of course the infamous moonbow. But of course that will be only in a character which has already low damage that they deal, and you're going to help them just to basically make cheap damage quick so that they can attack and get out of there, especially if they have low defenses. If they're fast characters that need that quick kill, especially if they have, as I mentioned before, a pretty low defense, you want them to get out of there as soon as possible. So yeah, that's basically how it works. And of course, if you have any other issues and of course any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this content, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.